Just remember, that the recipient cannot be a prohibited person. So, and that's key. Next slide, John. So always, if you have the ability to offer a gift card, you want to get that person in the store. And the reason is this is a huge upsell, add-on selling opportunity. You want to make sure you get them in the right gun. You want to get them into training, maybe get them into a coaching session with you, maybe get them the right holster, maybe, all the accessories and everything that comes with that firearm. That's really the opportunity. So you should always recommend that, let's get them in here. Let's give them a gift card or whatever the case may be. If you don't have the ability to do a gift card, then you know what? They're truly going to be buying the gun as a gift. Have them bring that individual in and try out different firearms, see which firearm works, and these are all great strategies to drive that margin. But always remember, next slide, remind the buyer that they are the buyer, the owner, the individual on a piece of paper that owns that gun, that owns that firearm. And it's key because the buck stops at them, right? So if God forbid something ever happens with that firearm, they're the ones that the ATF is going to contact. So I always like to drive that, Second Amendment, gun rights, registration. I don't agree with the government. It's all beside the point. The point of the matter is I want to get that gun off of me and I want some record of it. So just remember that. Also, where do they live? Private party transfers, places like Michigan. When it comes to a handgun, for example, you got to get that handgun off of you with the state police. So there's no registry in Michigan, but there is a requirement in certain states to make sure that you're following those rules. And if there is any type of paperwork that the state or local jurisdiction requires, then you want to make sure you're following the rules. So just keep that in mind. But again, great opportunity to upsell, great opportunity to add on sell. All your margins built into accessories, training, coaching, and all that. So you want to take advantage of that.
Yeah, JC, right. At the end, guys, I mentioned we're going to give away a bonus if you stay to the end. Now, I did not include the private party transfer document we push out there to folks, but if you need that, please just email us at JB or JC at FFL Consultants. We'll get that to you as well. JC, I took a couple of these calls this week. You probably did as well. With customer, what do you tell your customers when they call and say, how much trouble can I get in if I don't do the state required private party transfer, and how will I get caught? Well, that's real easy, guys. It's through a trace. And tell your customers and I know a lot of us don't like doing these private party transfers, but it's a great, as JC said, it's a great traffic driver. Gets people into your stores. You can accessorize them, sell them up. But there's certain guidelines for when and when not to retain possession of that firearm. We'll cover that in detail later during the questions. I already see a couple of questions on this, but there's certain times where you don't want to just grab that gun from the seller, and we'll answer that through the Q&A. So want to make sure that buyer is okay to actually get that gun.
All right, some November highlights. Get into the numbers just a little bit. This is just overall, and the disclaimers out there. NICS transactions do not necessarily equate to the number of firearms sold, but we can make some assumptions that a NICS transaction occurs for a handgun, long gun, other, or multiple. Then obviously somebody's doing a background check because they want to buy a firearm, right? So 2021 overall, combined total of handguns, long guns, other, and multiples, looking really good. We're still way up. Obviously 2020 is that anomaly, but if you look at years past, we're still up over 2019, 2018, and the preceding years. Next slide. So, and what do those numbers look like? Obviously, we're down right now against 2020, but again, that was an anomaly year. But we are still up over 2019 and 2018. I mean, look at this, handguns, we're up 25%. 2018, we're up over 27%. And when you look at that, that was midterm elections, right? So those midterm elections, general election periods really do drive sales, as you can see. We're flat on multiple handgun sales over 2019 and 2018, but we're still up. So, that's really good news for the industry in that we're still out there selling. So definitely keep an eye on your pricing, on your margins. continue to drive those sales, pay attention to the big boys and what they're selling firearms for, see where they're doing reductions, price reductions, because they have a lot of extra inventory, and mirror that. But make sure you're continuing to make money. All right,
Yeah,
next slide.
yeah, we've actually been seeing both shortages and overages depending on who your distributor is. So
and where you are.
Yeah, where you are. Don't be fooled. You got different markets, obviously, by region of the country. But we've been all over, and some gun dealers have a lot of back stock, and some have very little. But regardless of what, and take heed what JC said. Check your local marketing and pricing before you just decide, oh, I'm getting all these guns in from my distributor, and I probably need to price them down. That's not so. We're finding a lot of folks also with excess inventory just blowing this stuff out online. So if you don't want to get stuck with it and don't want to discount your merchandise, your firearms, try online, try your platforms and your supporters, and see if you can still make your margin. And it is inflated. I mean, it's going to be inflated, we think, for a while still. Ammo's still inflated. So don't let up, pedal to the metal, and get those holiday sales in.
Yep. All right, so inspection results year over year. We've gone over 2019 and 2020. Obviously, 2020. I mean, they conducted less than half, or a little bit less than half of the inspections that they conducted in 2019. Again, 2020 is an anomaly due to the pandemic. But you can see, I mean, still 804 warning letters, 306 warning conferences. I mean, that number, considering it was a pandemic, that number is still pretty significant. And then 40 licenses were revoked, a little bit down, but pretty much flat. I mean, we continually see over the years right around 40 revocations a year, somewhere in that neighborhood. The fact of the matter is 2020, what we're seeing both in 2020, from 2020 and into 2021, is that even though 2020 was that anomaly, a lot of the issues that are being presented are due to some of the exemptions. We have a few FFLs right now that we're supporting through either notice of revocations or adverse action via warning letter or warning conference. And we're seeing some of the issues from the exemption periods where driver's licenses were extended with an expiration date, or concealed carry permits were extended due to the expiration date. And those exemptions sunsetted at one point, and these FFLs are finding out that, oops, I wasn't paying attention, and I allowed transfers to occur after that exemption period is sunsetted. So definitely be paying attention. Go back through your paperwork. Currently, next slide, John. The DOJ and the White House Attorney General have instructed ATF to start publishing and being transparent about inspection activities month in and month out, and they are responsible for reporting this up to the White House on a monthly basis. In October 2021, 436 total inspections, November 454. So you're starting to see that increase. There's still some field divisions that are having some difficulties with getting out and doing inspections due to local laws around the pandemic and such, but we're starting to see a trend in revocations. Like I said, we're already helping a few FFLs that have gotten their notice of revocation due to a single error. And we'll go into the zero tolerance policy here in a moment. But if this trend continues, I mean, we've got 10 revocations in 2 months. That's up 33%. So if this trend continues, we're going to see a significant uptick in revocations. So, and we're really laser focused on those warning letters and warning conferences, because we have 3 more years of this administration, and it's not going to get any better. So you really need to be paying attention.
JC, while you're on this, talk about, we didn't put it on here, but talk about the 13-month inspection for new gun dealers. New licensing.
So here's the deal. So obviously, adverse action, warning letters, warning conferences. If you've received a warning letter or warning conference, expect a reinspection at either the 12 or 13-month mark. In addition, if when you obtained your license, you received a virtual ATF initial interview and inspection, they did it via Zoom or Microsoft Teams or whatever, they did not do a physical in-person visit, you will receive an in-person inspection, not a visit, an inspection at the 12 to 13-month mark from the issuance of your license. So be prepared.
Yeah,
They
sadly,
will be coming. You are a priority. By
yeah,
regulation, they have to visit you.
yeah, and very sadly, I tell a quick story. We have someone we worked with during COVID to actually get his license and get into the business. And it was, although a struggle, it was perfect timing for him. And unfortunately, he never did get that 4 to 6 hour training session as a new licensee, typical of the ATF, if and when they visit. And they showed up in his 13th month, and they did the inspection. That's why it's such a big issue. And they're revoking his license, or attempting to revoke his license. And how could that be fair? I mean, we're arguing the fairness behind this and the statutory expectations, but there's no statutory expectations or direction on training. He was provided his new FFL requirements review, which lists, I think, 113 different things you're supposed to go over with your IOI when they issue your license, and that didn't happen. But sadly, this is going to be a difficult situation to argue, but this is the type of stuff we're seeing right now, and worth mentioning.
Yeah, here's the deal. We're happy to help. We do this day in and day out, and the FFLs that are we're currently supporting. It's tough. It's tough to find out that help was there when now you're in a bind. So, we encourage you, reach out to us, talk to us, let us know what's going on, and let us see how we can help you. Don't wait. That's going to be the key. And we're going to talk about this, the zero tolerance policy in a moment.
This month, not a whole lot to talk about regarding ATF updates or the Biden administration, except for the E-Form 4 coming soon for all of you NFA dealers. JC, is that rolling out by email or registration?
It'll be rolling out. If you're not registered for the eForm platform, get out there, get registered. We can certainly shoot out the link for that, or you can just Google search ATF eForms. The eForm 4 is for your transfer of NFA firearms to non-licensees. This is the form that you fill out when you're selling an NFA device, if you don't know that already. And this is all going to go electronic, which is a beautiful thing. It's hopefully will speed things up. I know in the years of Trump, we were seeing turnaround times on Form 4s as good as about 3 to 4 months. Anticipate 6 to 9 months. This is going to open the door to a lot more streamlined and efficient process. So again, if you are an NFA dealer and you're not registered for eForms, go ahead and get registered. It's very easy to do. And you'll find that the eForm process is great for Form 3s, Form 2s for the manufacturers of NFA firearms. So it's just hugely efficient. So expect that coming the week prior to Christmas. I think it's the week of the 15th.
Merry Christmas, right?
Yeah, Merry Christmas from the ATF. Oh, good old Uncle Joe. Here we go. Biden's zero tolerance policy. Let's talk about this. Next slide, John. There you go. So I want to reiterate one thing right now, and I know some of you will tell me that the ATF is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Probably very few and far between of you. Some of you don't like them. Some of you keeps an arm's length, and that's all well and good. The one thing I want to point out here is this is the Biden administration. This is the Attorney General and the Department of Justice. This is not the ATF. I will tell you that we talk to the ATF regularly and we try to figure out ways to make things work, but unfortunately their hands are tied. The administration and the Attorney General, Department of Justice leadership have got their thumb on the ATF, and they are pushing them to report all instances and quantify and qualify their decision-making process. So what has the Biden administration done? They've established a zero tolerance, and zero means zero, for what they're calling rogue gun dealers that willfully violate the law. Now, what's a rogue gun dealer? Next slide, John. A rogue gun dealer is any FFL who commits a single willful violation. One single, zero tolerance, one mistake. And if it falls into the categories that have been defined by the Attorney General and the DOJ, you are sunk. So you really, really need to be paying attention. I cannot put more emphasis on this. Zero tolerance means zero tolerance. We just had an FFL call us at the completion of their inspection, reviewed their report of violations with them. And he said, what do you think? I said, zero tolerance means zero tolerance. Expect a notice of revocation.
Yeah, yeah, and for most of you who we visited or been through our audit program, you realize we used to qualify the different violations, citable violations, into different categories of major and minor. But right now, we're telling everyone, all of our clients, no, let's just put that aside. No longer major or minor. Don't worry about these, but not about those. Let's worry about everything at this point.
That's right. So here's your zero tolerance policy. And you know, number 4 and number 5, I mean, kind of go without saying, right? Failing to respond to an ATF trace request or refusing to permit an ATF, the ATF to conduct an inspection. They've always been willful violations. They've always been a problem. Very few and far between occurrences of these, but just be aware those are also two. The big 3 are really transferring a firearm to a prohibited person, failing to run that background check, and then falsification of records for things such as the ATF Form 4473. Those are the areas you really need to pay attention to. Now, obviously, those have big headings, right? Transferring firearm to a prohibited person. What does that mean? You know, failing to run a required background check is pretty simple. Unfortunately, we've seen some scenarios where I talked about the sunsetting of the exemption. You know, somebody's license to carry or concealed carry permit's been expired, and you didn't realize that that exemption expired or sunsetted, and you went ahead and proceeded even though that concealed carry permit was expired. That is failing to run a required background check. Even though that person had a concealed carry permit, that's a problem. Transferring firearm to a prohibited person, you know what that is, right? Anytime they answer yes to any of those questions in 21 other than 21A. So pay attention to those. Next slide.
Yeah, let me go back to number 1 here. Sure. For a minute. You say about, you know, so 2 weeks ago, you know, again, we're dealing with a lot of these warning revocation situations currently. And I got to tell the story because it can happen to any of us. So here's a very fluid, very high volume firearms dealer, and they have a lot of people in the program. So you purchase your firearm, you get a background check, you get a delay while you're going to come back later. So that paperwork moves to a different part of the store and to basically the cashier area, and they're very well trained folks. But unfortunately, somebody who checks the NICS updates every day, the NTN reports, accidentally missed this one person's denial and actually made it a proceed on the 4473. For some reason, you're checking them all in the morning, again, a high volume 44 firearms dealer. So we can blame the cashier, but here's what happened. She puts this denial form as a proceed and puts it in the proceed contact customer file. Someone else calls a customer, says, come pick up your firearm. That person comes in, picks up a firearm. Luckily, at the end of the, well, luckily, we thought it was luckily until we heard the PS to this whole issue. But someone at the end of the week looks at the form and says, wait a minute, this person was a denial when they were doing a cross verification to the NICS program, to the NTN report. And they say, we released a firearm to somebody who was denied. They act accordingly. They call the customer, the purchaser. They get the firearm returned and they get the firearm back in the book, but they do not self-report. They just put it back in the book. Coincidentally, within 45 days, the ATF shows up for an inspection and sees all of this denial. Actually, the ATF actually walks in with the denial information, in case you didn't know that, and they look for the denied paperwork for that one NICS background check sent in. Lo and behold, they find out a month and a half ago, a gun was released to a prohibited person, although recovered. Well, we think that used to be okay in the past. We've corrected our wrong, but in this case, they're being cited with a willful negligence violation of releasing a firearm to a prohibited person. I know there was a lot of different hands in the mix, but the ATF really doesn't care about that. The fact that you did it, and they also got upset that it wasn't self-reported. That's a whole separate story. But they actually are probably we're probably gonna wind up in a revocation with them. We've already been told by the area supervisor that they're gonna push for revocation. We've never heard that before. We've never heard it verbalized before the act is actually decided on and the paperwork is actually delivered. again, there's 5 other different ways where we can accidentally release a firearm to a prohibited person. It just can't happen, shouldn't happen. Just wanted to tell that little story.
Yeah. And you know, the IOI, just kind of touch on something John said there. The IOI can make whatever recommendation up the chain as he or she wants. The bottom line is it's going to get kicked back, because in the end, the ATF field division has to quantify and qualify their decision, and it's getting pushed back on every time we see it. So what were just violations, and serious violations in the past that may not have caused you to be revoked or to receive that notice of revocation, are now causing you to look at that process, which is unfortunate. So some other willful violations: not accounting for your firearms, not recording them in your A&D book in a timely manner, and so on. Not verifying, documenting buyer eligibility, right? That driver's license, whatever that state identification, supplemental documentation. Not maintaining records needed for firearms tracing, right? All those different forms that you have to fill out for a firearms transaction. Not reporting multiple sales of handguns and or rifles. We are seeing a ton of FFLs lately that are on adverse action, warning letter or warning conference, just because of the 3310.4 or the 3310.12, which is handguns or long guns. So obviously the long guns are for the Central America border states, but I've got 2 FFLs right now that we just went through a support process with, building out corrective action plans for their 3310.4s. One of them only had 3 missing 3310.4s. The other one had 4, and they're on a warning conference, which means now they're going to re-inspect it in 12 months. So for the next 12 months, they're going to have to be dotting their I's and crossing their T's very thoroughly. So just be aware of that. They take it very seriously. So accepting expired IDs, I kind of covered that already. Make sure those identification documents you're utilizing are accurate and up to date.
Yeah, let me highlight number 4, JC, for you too. Yeah. The bigger problem we're seeing, and it's sad, we look for technology solutions in the past. So we do a lot of work with pawnbrokers who have a lot of advanced software that incorporates the A&D process in their pawn program. But then there's other ones out there. I don't want to mention anybody by name, but they all do the same thing. They track multiple sales for your customers and say, hey, you have this report that needs to be printed. And very often we see it as an alert on the screen or an end of day process that you leave up to a cashier or maybe a supervisor to make sure we're printing those forms, signing them and sending them, and then retaining confirmation of those forms being sent. This is screwing everybody up. And this is now one of the bullseyes that the ATF is looking at. When they come in, they know, if and when you've sent these in, they're going to compare these to your reports. They look at the NICS checks, they have the NICS records. There's a lot of different ways they can go after verifying whether or not you sent these in same day, not end of day. I'm sorry, not next day, not at the end of the week when Susie, looks through and batches them all up and gets them all processed. That has been a past practice that maybe wasn't taken so seriously, but in today's day and time with the ATF, this is a bullseye for them. I can't reiterate enough how many FFLs are failing in this area, and these must be completed and sent daily, and keep and retain your confirmation, whether it be an email process you use or the fax system, the scan and email or the fax system. Keep your verification, because this will come up during your next inspection, almost guaranteed.
Yep, absolutely. So, and JB touched on it. Make sure you're keeping a record of it. And the business day is your business days. So if you're only open on Saturdays, it's 5 Saturdays. So if you have a multi-sale that occurs, it's the same business day as that multi-sale occurs. So, and you want to keep that record, because they are going to bring in a report. And we've already had a couple of FFLs where the IOI said they were missing 40. The IOI knew when they walked in the door, they were missing 40 multiple sales. How did they know that? Well, they looked at their NICS report, their summary report, and we can talk about that a little later. But just make sure you're getting it done.
Just say one more on the just to eliminate confusion on the multiple. Got this call the other day. Someone came in and say on a Tuesday and bought 2 firearms, 2 handguns, and they were required to send in the 3310 by the end of Tuesday. That same person came in on Thursday and bought one firearm. And because it was more than two, now it's three, within 5 days, they have to submit yet another 3310.4 on Thursday. So this gets a little complicated, but we get these calls all the time. Again, we can help you sort these out very quickly, give you the right answer fast. Just give us a ring or text or call. But these are the things that are going to trip you up and unfortunately put you in some hot water, and we want to keep you out of hot water.
That's right. All right. So what should you expect? What's the truth? So we know that FFLs, you all included, work really hard to stay compliant. We know that mistakes happen, but unfortunately in this climate, those mistakes that can happen that were either maybe not as looked upon so heavily when an IOI came in to inspect and would allow you to fix things and so on and so forth, they're not going to risk their job or their career for you. It's just a fact of life. Would you? You know, and that's what it really comes down to. Those willful violations, and what's willful, we'll get into that a little bit. You know, you signed the Form 7 when you applied for your FFL. You certified that you were going to pay attention, that you were going to follow the law, that you were going to follow the regulations. So anything from that point forward is willful. You know what the laws are, and if you don't, you should pick up the phone and call someone, whether that have been your IOI or us or whoever, right? So those willful violations that occurred in the past pre-Biden maybe would just end up in a warning letter or a warning conference. Now, not the case. So just pay attention. FFL will face license revocation for any single willful violation. Zero tolerance means zero tolerance. Again, we just had an FFL, basically went to the ATF, went all the way up to the field division leadership and said, you know, what are we going to do here? This is something that happens quite often. Zero tolerance. A single violation means a single violation. We're not joking around about this. This is really, really serious. So who's most at risk?
Hang on, JC. Again, we had, again, I wish we had I wish we had a lot of happy stories this month. We know we usually have some happy stories. We want to laugh like the rest of you and have fun doing this. But ignorance is not an excuse. And someone said to me the other day, a different FFL said, how can we be expected to understand and remember all 263 pages of the requirements regulations guidebook? First of all, who's printed that out, using the PDF link that you got from the ATF? Not many people, and not many people refer back to it. But they are not accepting of the fact that you didn't know, or I didn't know, or we didn't check. I mean, those words are just not going where they used to be, and how they used to work. Ignorance is not an excuse, right?
And our phones have not stopped ringing in November. I got to tell you, and yeah, like JB said, I wish we had better news, but you know what? This is definitely, if you got a little bit of the fear of God in you over this, rightfully so. It's ridiculous, and we've been on the phone nonstop. So, who's most at risk? If you had a warning conference after your last inspection or a warning letter, number one, you are going to see a reinspection at the 12 to 13 month mark. I already touched on this. Just be aware they're coming. All right. Trace requests. The more firearm traces you have, especially in a short period of time, less than 3 years, that's time to crime. That means that firearm has somehow been involved in a crime and you're getting a trace request for it. The higher the frequency, the more aware the ATF is going to be of you, and they need to look at you. They're required to do so. High number of denials. Why is that a possibility of inspection? That means you're being targeted for potential straw purchases. So you have that risk. So they're going to be paying attention to the denial rate that you're seeing. And it's a percentage of your total transactions. So if you want to know what drives it, I mean, there's not any given number or percentage, but if you have a higher than normal of denials, you're going to start seeing it. FFLs with reported thefts or losses. We've seen a couple of these just in the last couple of weeks where a theft loss occurred, and the ATF has always been very cordial in these events, help you do inventory, help you fill out the paperwork. Well, now they're also initiating inspections because they've been told to do so. So keep in mind, they're going to want to make sure that your paperwork is uptight. ATF is also conducting more inspections on firearms manufacturers. Just had a major firearm manufacturer that we support that utilizes subcontractors for some of their manufacturing processes. And sure enough, we got the phone call because we support all their subs in their manufacturing process. They all were getting inspected. They had IOIs come in, review their books, make sure the firearms that were incomplete, that were going through the process, were all logged and properly recorded in their A&Ds. So they literally went out and touched 7 subcontractors that are responsible for manufacturing different pieces, parts, components of those firearms. So they are focusing on manufacturers. Just be aware of that if you are a manufacturer.
And the whole denial program, guys, that's too easy to prevent. Meaning, if you're not using the Don't Lie program from the National Shooting Sports Foundation, just go out to don'tlie.org. That's all. It's right there. Don'tlie.org. Order your free materials, your free kits. They rebranded this past year. Really cool looking posters, pamphlets. You can get all types of little handouts and just the materials you need to prevent that person from thinking they can get away with it in your store. When they see the posters, they know you're trained in preventing straw purchases, and go ahead and just shut down the denial before it even happens. So stay off the denials, and use the Don't Lie program. Call us or email us if you have more questions on that.
Yeah. So what can you do if you fall into any of these categories? You need to really start looking at things. We have a number of FFLs right now that we're telling you need to go through the past 12 months and make sure everything is uptight. We've probably been on, I know I've been on the road the last 3 weeks, visiting multiple locations, doing mock inspections for a number of our clients. If you don't want to do that, then sit down, either have your compliance person or yourself go through every 4473 and make sure everything is uptight. You want to review them very close and make sure there are no issues. And any issues you do find, we'll give you some advice here in a second. So if the problem was incorrect acquisition and disposition records and unaccounted for firearms, you need to start doing those monthly inventories. That's a steel inventory. You need to physically check the actual firearm or device. Don't rely on boxes and paperwork. You need to make sure all that information matches as well. But the bottom line is it's the gun that matters. So make sure you're checking that firearm. You need to reduce your risk. So unaccounted for firearms will very well be seen as a willful act. Absolutely 100%. We've already seen it. And it doesn't matter your size, small or large. They're looking and they're going to violate you. So if you identify a violation, don't wait to act. Get in touch with us. We'll talk on that in a minute.
Yep. The big one here, guys, and I gotta be, you probably got to be honest with yourselves too. We've visited way too many FFLs in the last 3 months specifically because we know the pressure's on, who haven't done an inventory. And there's too many excuses, such as I don't have enough people, we don't have the time, we have too many firearms, we did an inventory last year. I got to tell you, there's way too many clients and FFLs calling us who are trying to find out how to recover a lost gun, how to research a lost gun, guns, make it plural. And the first question we always ask is, when was your last inventory? And that's one of the things we look at when we visit. We do a sampling, and we want to see the inventory records just to make sure you're doing it correctly. It's gun to book and book to gun. And this is not an excuse. When the ATF comes in, we coined this phrase. It's better for you to tell them versus them telling you when they show up and do an inspection. It's treated with much different consideration. So if you're missing guns, we do the research with you. We talk to you over the phone. We send you our guide on what there's 13 different things we tell you to do if you're missing a firearm. And if you're missing a firearm, how to submit that known loss report, known theft report correctly, and what to say on it so that you don't instigate an immediate inspection. So this is big. Again, JC said it. You need to do an inventory if you haven't done an inventory in the last 3-4 months. Make sure you're not missing guns, and if you are, make sure they get researched. So.
Yeah. All right, so prepare yourself, right? Be diligent in conducting your reviews of 4473. As if you're a solo act, have your wife, if you're home based, have your wife do it, have your spouse do it, whatever the case may be, or just make sure before you're transferring that firearm that everything, all your I's are dotted, all your T's are crossed, all the necessary required fields are populated with the correct information. You want to do this before the firearm is transferred. That is the best time to catch your mistakes. That way you don't have to try to get a hold of the customer and have them come back in. This is what you want to do. This is what's going to avoid violations when an inspection occurs. Again, take those steel inventories, actual firearm, periodic reviews of reports, depending on your volume, maybe that's once a week. And you need to be verifying information, multi-sales, making sure all that stuff is getting done daily. Make sure you're reviewing your records. One of the things I just did for an FFL last week, we printed out their closed dispositions. And I actually went through the counts to make sure all their 4473s were accounted for, to make sure there were no multi-sales, sorted by the buyer. So we just ran through it real quick and identified 3 issues. Hey, here's an individual that bought 5 guns, 5 receivers within a period of time. I think it was like a 4 or 5 month period. You need to be asking that person, what are you doing with these firearms? You're buying 5 receivers. Obviously, you're turning them into firearms. Are you selling them? Number 1, it's your competition. Number 2, the ATF might ask questions about that. Why are you facilitating the sale of these? Obviously, why aren't you asking questions, right? So respond to traces ASAP. Make sure that the ATF has multiple points of contact for you in case you're on vacation. You're away from your cell phone, whatever the case may be. Make sure they have email, up-to-date email information for you. So you want to make sure that you have the ability to respond to traces ASAP. Straw purchase prevention training. The biggest thing is if you have staff, empower them to recognize and shut it down. You want them to be confident in their process, to ask the question, are you buying this for yourself or somebody else? Who are we buying a gun for today? We say it in all of our seminars. So we're a big proponent of implementing some sort of straw purchase firearm identification program where you're identifying or flagging that firearm as being involved in a denied sale. So that way, whoever's selling it, if you're solo, you're reminded, oh, this was denied a couple of days ago. Let me ask some more questions. So you want to qualify that customer? Don't be afraid to ask. You're the licensee. You have the gun. They want the gun. They're either going to answer your questions or they're not. And if they don't, then don't make the sale. You have that responsibility and you have that ability. So keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, JC, a couple quick things. If you guys are using an electronic system for A&D, we love it. We love electronic A&D. Make sure you get the variants if you need them. But make sure you understand how to use the reports that you're paying for. Your software is made to make your life easier. There's a lot of reports in there for inventory and specifically open acquisitions. It's a great way to run a report, see how many guns I should have in stock today or this month, and do a gun count. Even if you can't do the steel firearms inventory monthly, at least do the gun count in will it be weekly or monthly, depending on your volume and your traffic and your sales. It's a great way to keep track of what at least, do I have the right number of guns? And start there. And if not, then you can get into the detail, but electronic record keeping is great. And remember, you as an FFL, it says it in the guidebook, you retain the right of refusal. You can refuse a firearms transfer for whatever reason to a non-licensee. Okay, just don't get into why, don't be discriminatory, don't get into any lawsuit area, nothing you want put out there on Facebook, but refuse a firearm transfer to any non-licensee for whatever reason whatsoever, period. Remember that, and if you're not sure about what exactly that means, give us a ring.
Yep. All right, so don't wait. That's the bottom line. Get in front of these things now. But most importantly, if something slipped through the cracks, don't be afraid to correct it. There's a proper way to correct it. The instructions are right there. You make a copy of whatever page the correction is needed on, and you make those corrections there. Now, if it's the transferee buyer mistake, you have them make those corrections. If it's a mistake that you made, you can make those those corrections to the mistake. You may still be cited, but here's the deal. I would rather have you be cited and the IOI document the corrective action that although you made a mistake, you took the initiative to correct it. Give them something to argue for you. Again, willful violation, right? Zero tolerance, a single willful violation. But at least if you give the field division an argument, they can go to battle for you and hopefully only go with the adverse action of a warning letter or warning conference. That's the key. We have to give them something. So I would rather see you make the correction and catch it, make the correction, than have the IOI find it, and then it is a violation and you're done. So don't log in firearms such as special orders until the firearm is on premise. This is something that's been going on in a few parts of the country where you're doing a 4473 to cover the whole purchase period for waiting periods, to cover that financial transaction thing. No, gun has to be in your possession. You don't want to take on the responsibility and risk of a firearm that you don't have. Don't dispose of firearms until they are off licensed premise. We just had a major manufacturer who had an entire skid, a pallet full of firearms, a whole pallet. And it was individual firearms, individual violations for each firearm, because he had already logged them out of their A&D book and they were waiting for the logistics company to come pick them up. It's not until they're gone. Make sure of that. Out-of-state resident sales. We just had a phone call this morning on out-of-state resident sale. You know what? Don't make the sale if you're not certain of the laws in that state, and you better make sure that you know. We just had an FFL that basically is looking at potential issue as far as adverse action. They transferred a firearm from their state to an individual that was a resident of Illinois, and they used a FOID card as a waiver for NICS. A FOID card is not a waiver for NICS, but they didn't know that because they didn't know the state laws. If you don't know, don't make the sale, period, the end. Make life easy on yourself. It isn't worth it. There's not enough margin wrapped up in guns. Multiple handgun transfers, certain multiple rifle transfers, southwest border states, make sure you're reporting them. Make sure you're getting it done by the end of the business day that the transaction occurred on. If you're an absentee owner, that's a big problem. You are the responsible person. You need to be actively involved in your business. We have seen way too many absentee owners. It's all well and good. You have somebody great that's running your business and you don't need to pay attention, or you have another business. You need to be in the know. You need to be paying attention to what's going on because it's your livelihood in the end. So,
JC,
JB, anything to add?
Yeah, just on that out-of-state thing, guys, there is no one repository. Even the NSSF has trouble keeping this simplified for you. Again, just call us. If there's one question we get all the time, it's, can I sell this out-of-state customer a handgun or an AR? And we deal with this so often every day. Every week, we know 99% of the laws off the top of the head. 1% of the times we have to look up the statute ourselves. So please just reach out to us, whether you're a member, a client, or just an FFL joining us today. Got a question? Give us a call. Don't not sell the gun. I mean, that's sad. I mean, you're losing sales. You know, we can tell you if and when you can make that sale to a customer visiting or touring or vacationing in your area. So just give us a ring. JC.
All right. So, you know, in the past, we would say, you know, let's self-report that issue. If it's a big enough issue, let's see if we can get you out of trouble ahead of time. No more. You need to manage your risk. And by managing that risk, we need to evaluate, or you need to evaluate the situation, the violation, and we need to make a determination of what we can do to fix it. Self-reporting used to be a great way to go. You would keep you out of trouble. The ATF was appreciative of it, but now don't take that risk. It's not worth it. I feel you. I see it on the threads all the time. I just call my IOI. My OI says this, my OI says that. He tells me to call him all the time. Well, you know what? You're opening yourself up. And I appreciate and respect 99.9% of the IOIs. They are great people. They are very helpful. They're a great solution when you have a question. But the fact of the matter is, we have an FFL notice of revocation right now where the IOI showed up to do an inspection.
I'm on a telecon.
Where the IOI showed up to do an inspection, and he already had the violations that the FFL called the IOI on their report of violations. So what he self-reported on is a violation, and period, the end. Doesn't matter if he tried to fix it. Doesn't matter that he tried to call the IOI to do the right thing. He screwed himself, unfortunately.
Yeah, let me jump in, JC. Yeah, hey, listen, legally, we're not telling, liability wise, we have a little disclaimer. We're not telling you not to call the ATF.
Yep.
It's your opinion, your option.
Yep.
What we're telling you is that it's not in the guidebook or regulations that you have to call the ATF to self-report. They will always tell you they want you to call them. We're just telling you to use your discretion.
Yep.
And, there's other resources for you to decide what to do, as long as you're correcting your error and correcting your mistake. That they do say that the statute says you have to make corrections.
Yep.
It doesn't say at the end of that statute that you have to call and report your corrections. So just just clarifying that a little bit.
That's fine. I totally understand from a liability standpoint, but the fact of the matter is, you know what? Pick up the phone and call us first, and we'll tell you whether or not you're in a bad position. So, all right, upcoming events. Come see us down at SHOT Show. Hopefully y'all are coming down to Vegas. Vegas is open.
Woo-hoo.
So it's going to be a good time had by all, I'm sure. 2 hotels this time, Caesars and Sands Expo. So Palazzo, Caesars, and the Venetian. It's going to be a huge show. I think it's 800,000 square feet of merchandise, firearms industry merchandise. So it's going to be a big one. Nation's Best Sports. This is a buying group. You have to have a pretty considerable amount of sales to be part of this buying group, but we're going to be down there February 11th through the 14th. And then Texas Association of Pawnbrokers. We're doing this one again this year. We got requested to come out again to participate in this. We're going to be speaking down there. I think we have a booth, JB.
We do.
So we're going to have a booth down there. So come and see us. All right. Q&A time.
No, yeah, let's actually, and just stick around. We'll go ahead and give you your bonus in just a few minutes.
Yep.
You guys don't want to miss that. It's good tools and resources that you can start using today. Let's, JC, let me run through some of the chats that came.
You gonna read them, or you want me to?
Yeah, I'll read it real fast.
Right.
So here's the first one. It says, you have received a firearm from a private individual via mail for transfer. He has included his copy of his driver's license, or he has his copy of his driver's license. Besides recording the seller info in the A&D book, is there anything else that is good practice for this type of situation?
One of the things, and this goes for all, supplemental documents or additional documents that FFLs maintain for transactions. I would tell you just, create a secondary file not attached to the 4473 that has this individual's information, the gun information and stuff like that. But as far as your A&D records are concerned for this type of situation, the only thing you need to document is the date that it was arrived, the firearm information, and that individual's name and address. That's all that's required. If you want to keep some supplemental documentation, keep it separate, keep it filed in order of either the log number or whatever information that you use to record the location of that firearm in your A&D records.
And we always say this, guys, box 32, we love box 32 and you should too.
Yep.
It's the story box. Put your notes in there, but you don't necessarily attach all the forms and receipts to your 4473, but put your notes in box 32. That might help you recall that transaction.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, next up, JC, as a sole proprietor, FFL, if I build a receiver into a pistol, do I have to record that pistol into my A&D book at the time of the build, or only when ownership changes?
So a couple of things on this one. Number one, if you're a sole FFL and you're manufacturing a firearm, because this is considered manufacturing, you need to be an FFL type 7 manufacturer. That's first and foremost. Secondly, yes, you need to record that firearm in your A&D book when it is actually manufactured. So that firearm is on premise in your book. There's a certain process for manufacturers. Basically, what you do is you take that receiver. It's already in your A&D book as a receiver. You will dispose of that firearm to your FFL, and then you will need to maintain a manufacturer's A&D book. You will bring that firearm, once manufactured, into the pistol, into your manufacturer's A&D book as whatever it is, pistol, rifle, whatever you've built it into. Keep in mind that you do need to go ahead and you need to mark that firearm with your FFL name or your DBA name, your trade name, and your city and state. So even though maybe it was say an Anderson receiver, you still, once you transition that from a receiver into a handgun, you still need to mark it. You can adopt the serial number that exists on it as long as it's not a duplicate. So you can keep the serial number, but you do still need to mark that firearm. If you're not a type 7, do not manufacture a firearm. It will get you in a lot of trouble.
JC, good question. Just it's not asked here, but say that firearm shows up at another gun dealer later. It has it's an Anderson manufactured, and maybe it's made by John Barker FFL company. How does that get marked as an acquisition at the next FFL?
The recommended practice on that is to mark both.
Okay.
Because when that firearm shows up, say by chance that firearm gets used in a crime, it gets recovered by law enforcement, you want to be able to give them as much information about that firearm as possible. So we always recommend, it's an Anderson / whatever your name is as the manufacturer.
Okay, I'll take this next one real quick. Multi-shotgun sales reporting. So the answer is no. Multiple sales of shotguns, more than two or more at any given day or time or within 5 days, are not required to be marked at all in a 3310 or a .4 or 3310.12. There's no reporting of multiple purchases of shotguns, including anything like a Shockwave, Remington 870, anything with a pistol grip firearm, shotgun type firearm. Those do not need, it's only handguns and long guns that specifically fall into multiple firearm reporting programs.
And James, we can get you a little bit more detail on that. I think we have your email address, so we can kind of send you a breakdown of what the requirements are for multiple long gun sales.
There you go, JC. A client of mine has an Idaho gun trust, which his son is on. Okay, I guess that's the question. Yeah, that's the.
I think there's more to it down below.
Okay, we'll go to that one later. Here we go. Yeah. How to determine when exemption period ended for expired driver's licenses, specifically from Michigan.
Go out to Michigan Department of Motor Vehicles or whatever the licensing issuing authority is in the state of Michigan, and see what that period of time was that there was an exemption. There, almost every state, I can't think of any that doesn't maintain that information out on their site. But you need to be keeping record of that as well. So take a printout of that sheet, of that screen for the Michigan DMV or whatever state you're in, just so you can prove that there was an exemption period for that time, for that period of time.
Yeah. A similar question someone had called Friday about. They said, when does the expiration on a NICS actually take place? When does that 30-day count start? So it's a good question, because somebody was on their 30th day, actually their 31st day after we got talking about it, and they didn't want to violate it, and thankfully they called. But the 30-day expiration on a NICS approval starts on the day following the NICS submittal.
Yep.
So if somebody came in today for a transfer, I submitted my NICS today for that person, they got delayed, we start counting tomorrow.
Yeah, it's not when you receive the approval or whatever the case may be, it's the date you submit to NICS. That's when the clock starts ticking.
And it's 30 days. It's not 31 if the month is 31, it's not the end of it. It's not, it's 30 days, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, client has an Idaho gun trust, you got that. Can we get a PDF copy of this presentation? If you email us, absolutely. Just right after this session, our emails are right up there again. Just email JB or JC at FFLconsultants.com. And we'll absolutely, not only are we sending out the recording link on Wednesday, but we'll make sure we put that PDF in there with it so that you have access to both. So don't even send us an email. We'll include that with the follow-up email we're sending you. All right, good question.
Yep. All right, here's your gun trust, JB.
Okay, now the client has an Idaho gun trust and his son is on it. There's a handgun he wants to give him, but his son has moved to Northern California. WTF, what does that mean?
Yeah. Why on earth would you move to why would you move to California? Oh, yeah, I hope the money was worth it. Wow. All right. Let's see. First of all, Noel, I will send you, I think I already actually sent it to you. There is an AG website for what to do if you're moving to the unfortunate state of California with firearms, and what they will need to do in order to make sure that they are in compliance with the laws of the state of California. Oh, there are so many things, and to go into detail, it would probably take us another hour. Those guns need to be allowed in the state of California. They have to be registered. There's a whole bunch of things that need to happen. So I sent you that link. Take a look at it. Obviously, if you have any questions or whatever, reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to help you.
Here's Wayne's asking, why can't it back up on the 4473? How do I contact you? Well, contacting is easy. Our information is up there on screen. Just call or go to our website and schedule a 30-minute free chat with us. That's easy. But I'm not sure exactly what he means by backup on the 4473. Is it maybe if it's electronic, if you're talking about an electronic system, you're using the ATF E4473 or one of the other vendors out there. Once that is completed by the customer, by the transferee, it is done, certified. They do not get to go make corrections on that. A lot of the electronics, a lot of electronic systems are hard to navigate. There's some training needed, before you lock the form or allow the customer to make corrections if that's what you're talking about. But give us a call, get in contact with us, and we'll try to help you out with that.
Yeah, if you're utilizing the electronic 4473 and they've already certified and it's already switched back to you, even if you don't have the variants for an electronic 4473 for the storage part of it, you're still printing that electronic 4473 off at the end. When you print it off, they can make the corrections. There's a reason why we recommend, number one, striking through single line any errors that were made, but having them make the correction and then initial and date it. It's basically just certifying the same date that the date of the transaction occurred. So that way the IOI knows, okay, there was an error, they made a correction, it was made on the same date as the transfer, not post-transfer, etc. So just be aware of that.
All right, JC, I have a small retail, for time's sake, we'll speed through these. I have a retail small shop, North Dakota, Onagad, North Dakota, and mostly do Cerakoting and gunsmithing. I sell very few guns a year. I want to go on vacation for 3 months this winter. What are my considerations? Contact my IOI?
First of all, congratulations for being able to go on vacation for 3 months during winter in North Dakota. I don't blame you for that one. Yeah, I mean, you can certainly let them know that you're going on vacation. Make sure your information is updated for any trace requests. Likelihood of that happening is probably slim to none since you don't transact that many guns, but definitely you can let them know, hey, listen, I'm not going to be around. They're going to call you anyway, a small shop in North Dakota. There may not be a field office close to you. Chances are pretty good because of that. They're going to call you to confirm you're there. So just make sure they have your updated information.
You mean before an inspection, right, JC?
Yeah, before an inspection. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, with zero tolerance policy, do you recommend having a dormant FFL in the event of revocation? Don't know what that means. This is something a past ATF agent recommended during an inspection.
Yeah, no. Here's the deal. This used to be a strategy, and to be quite honest with you, if you're the only responsible person on that license, they're going to revoke both. The chances are really good they're just not going to play that game. But I will tell you that we've come up with a pretty effective strategy in a couple different fronts as it relates to zero tolerance and notice of revocation and such. So it wouldn't behoove you to do that. I don't think it's worth it. I think that if you're small, they're going to revoke both. They're not going to play games with you.
All right, from Noel again, how many long guns per sale is allowed? I thought it was 3 before report was necessary. So
multiple
Noel,
means multiple, more than one.
No, long guns. So there's no reporting required on long guns, except in the southern border states.
Right. Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California, more than one. You're required to report it. Not 3. It's multiple, meaning more than one.
Yeah, again, those are only the southern border states to Mexico. Yep. Otherwise, no one else in the country is reporting multiple sales of long guns. Multiple shotguns, same thing. Have you seen any FFL self-report a major issue and not get a revocation referral since the zero tolerance announcement? The answer is the zero tolerance announcement was what, in July, I think, JC?
Yeah, June or July.
Yeah, June, July. And then inspections started to roll out. And if you've been inspected, it takes 3 to 6 months to get your report from your IOI, who was on site doing the inspection. And with the new process, that's what you should expect. And we think that's why we're starting to get these revocations now, is these inspections were done back since July and August, and they're hitting hard now. So the answer is no. I haven't seen a major issue reported where revocation has not resulted in at least a warning and or revocation. How about you, JC?
Yeah, the same. The self-reporting thing, that we've only seen one or two, I think, here recently, where a violation that was self-reported showed up on a report of violations, but we haven't seen any revocation as a result of that. We have seen adverse action. Yeah. So, but it's just the beginning of the new fiscal year for the government.
Yep.
So anything is possible.
Yeah. JC, can they ask for records of personal firearms?
Can they ask for records of personal firearms? You know, our recommendation on any of these, when we do a site visit and there are personal firearms on site, you either are keeping them in a safe and the safe is marked personal firearms. And as long as they're not commingled, as long as you're not keeping inventory that's in your A&D records commingled with your personal firearms, they should not be looking at your personal firearms.
Yeah.
So that's typically when we see an IOI that starts asking questions about firearms in your name, your personally owned firearms, is when they're commingled.
The bottom line is this: if you got all the firearms in your shop, should be marked personal firearms if they're yours. Otherwise, they need to be acquired in your bound book. Plain and simple. We've gone over that in videos and other sessions where you can call us if you got to understand more about that. But even if they're your firearms on display, we had that question the other day. They want to put their firearms on display in their shop. Still has to have a tag on it if it's on a shelf for display. Property of FFL so-and-so. Personal property of FFL so-and-so.
Yep. Individually tagging is fine too, but if you can put them all in one safe and not commingle, it's okay to mark the entire safe, personally owned firearms.
Wayne, you're asking what an IOI is, and that is an industry operations investigator. That's the auditor, basically, from the ATF.
They're the ones that are going to show up to your shop.
Yep, plain and simple. They're the lowest level of the ATF field team that does a lot of the work. Above them is the area supervisor, and then above them is usually a senior area supervisor or the director of industry operations. Okay, and above them is the criminal, the SAC, the special agent in charge of your regional office. So we try to deal at the SAC level or at the DIO level for you guys. Those are the folks we know. We may not know your IOI specifically. When you call and say, oh, Jerry Griswold was here. We may not know Jerry. We probably know his supervisor or his boss or somebody else in Washington that can help you.
Yeah.
Does the FFL have to put all his personal firearms owned prior to licensing into the A&D book?
Not unless you're going to sell them. Besides, you wouldn't even have a requirement to have an A&D book if you aren't licensed. So unless you plan on selling them. Now, if you plan on selling them, understand something. You get your license, you're ready to go, and now you want to start selling some of the firearms out of your personal collection. You need to acquire those into your A&D book from you. Now, keep in mind, if you're not a sole proprietor and you're an LLC or an S Corp, C Corp, whatever, when and if you want to take that firearm back, you need to fill a 4473 out, and whatever the jurisdiction is, will determine whether or not you need to do a background check. And what do I mean by that? If you're a NICS exempt state, in other words, your concealed carry permit satisfies the requirements of NICS, then you don't have to do a background check. But just keep in mind, if you want to take that firearm back, you will have to do a 4473 in those situations. As a sole proprietorship, it's different rules. So.
Question from Wayne, just trying to go back. If it doesn't take the first, if it doesn't, I guess 4473, if it doesn't take the first time or you spot an error on the electronic 4473, yes, your electronic system again should allow you to go in and ask the customer, the transferee, to review their 4473 form. If it's their section, make sure everything is correct and accurate. Remember, you can never coach them. And it should also allow you to go back even after the transfer is completed, if that's the case, to go in and do an update to that record. And there's always a pop-up box that says comments or notes regarding the change you're making after the transfer. Give us a call if you need more information or help on the software you use regarding that, or if it's paper, just set up a call for us. We'd love to spend a half hour with you and walk you through more of this.
Yeah, and just a couple of things on, there's a lot of great systems out there, and we talk to a lot of them, and they call us about different things. Just keep in mind with any of the systems that are out there, whether they're electronic A&Ds or electronic 4473, whatever the case may be. Number one, if they tell you they're ATF compliant, that's all well and good, but that's your responsibility to make sure that they are ATF compliant. None of them have been approved by the ATF. They cannot endorse any products. It's a very significant rule with the ATF. So anybody that says their product's been endorsed by the ATF, they're lying, period. The ATF will tell you straight
Yeah.
up. So, and again, it is your responsibility to make sure that application is in compliance with regulations. They don't care about the manufacturer or software developer. You're the
Right.
FFL, you're responsible.
And most importantly, make sure you have the variants you need to use that software if the vendor hasn't completed that for you and hasn't applied for that for you. We're finding errors and issues all over the country when we visit and find out they don't have the variances they're supposed to have. Yeah, it's an easy process. You submit an application for variance, whatever variance it is, to the ATF, but it seems like the vendors are not doing this for you, and that's an issue. Last question, and then we have your bonus and your surprise here. What about demo NFA items, still active A&D, but not for sale? So maybe demo, I guess we're looking at.
Demo NFA items, rental NFA items, absolutely. A few things with demo or rental NFA items, make sure you have all the paperwork, but yes, they do need to be in your A&D books. You want to make sure that, if you have a big enough demo collection or rental collection, you just want to make sure you're maintaining a separate A&D book for that. So that way it's really easy to know exactly how many rental or demo firearms you have and where they're at and so on and so forth. So yes, you do need to maintain an A&D record of those as well.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of NFA questions the last couple of weeks. I don't know why all of a sudden, I don't know why. It's a great business to be in. So, but the easiest thing to do is schedule, go on our calendars, go to our website, schedule a 30-minute chat with us and get all your NFA questions answered all in one shot. It's a lot easier and put you and sleep better at night. JC, that's the question sent in. So let me get to our bonus. Where is that? There we go. Woo! Hey, you guys have been great. Let's see, 36 of you hung on till the end. So here's the special bonus for you. Today only, this is good till 9 p.m. tonight. Just go to our website and you'll get the first time gun buyer 4473 guide. Comes with instructions. This has helped many of we use this guide for all of our clients that are in 1-year revocation status. They want to do it right the first time, get it right the first time. This is a great little tool. It's in Word document format. You can edit it, put your logo on it, change it to your state requirements, add, delete, whatever you want. Disclaimer is this is for you to use at your discretion. Again, we use it and we developed it about 4 years ago to keep people out of trouble and get the gun buyer to do the 4473 right the first time. Just go to our website. You'll download that. You'll also get the used firearm purchase affidavit. Oh my God, this is so great. Somebody coming in to sell you a used firearm, take the guesswork out of it, have them put it in writing. Again, this form is just fill in the blanks. Let the seller attest and affirm that the gun's not stolen. They release you from liability, et cetera, and just scares the crap out of people trying to sell you stolen guns. Third, SOP, the standard operating procedure we're giving you is, we talk about it all the time. We've made this available, I think, on all our calls. The listing manufacturers and importers SOP for you and your folks to make sure you get it right and avoid any ATF inspection errors. And then really just go to our website again till tonight, 9 o'clock, FFLconsultants.com, real easy. And you'll look for the special extra bonus tag at the bottom of the page. It's way at the bottom. All you do is click on that. That's all you do. And you'll bring you right to these 3 documents in a very safe, secure location. Just download them and please don't share them. These are for you guys only for attending and spending the morning with us. And that's it. There's our contact info. Thank you for the extra 15 minutes. JC, I'm going to finish, but you can wish these guys a happy holiday, right?
Happy holidays. Absolutely.
Anybody,
Merry Christmas where appropriate. Happy Hanukkah where appropriate.
Now, we're going to stay on for about 10 more minutes. If anybody wants to chat live, feel free to. Everyone else, we'll see you guys in January. Look for the emails. Oh, one special bonus. I totally forgot. If you're going to get a email maybe by 5 o'clock today that says, if you loved our event today, give us a good review on Google. You'll get the link. Just give us 3 or 4 sentences. And if you do that today, we'll make it by tomorrow, 4 o'clock. We're going to give you 2 months. We're going to give you 60 days of free one-on-one VIP client consultation. So, that's a pay service we offer, but give us a referral and we'll hold your hand for the next 2 months. Love you guys. Happy holidays. JC, anything else?
Nope. Happy holidays, everybody.
We'll see you guys.
Thanks for joining us.
We'll hang out for anybody else who wants to chat. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
See you. Merry Christmas. And I think everybody's available. Everybody's unmuted. If you want to talk, unmute your microphone.
Yep.
We've got another 10, 15 minutes before.
You can unmute, or you can push your space bar to temporarily unmute.
There you go.
JB,
Oh, Fred, how you doing? I'm gonna pick on Fred.
this is Skip.
I'm doing great.
Oh.
70 and sunny.
Yeah, that's nice. It's gonna be 60 here today. Skip, what you got, buddy?
Well, look, I just wanted to throw this out there because it kind of threw up a red flag to me. And I had someone to give me a call a little while back saying that they purchased at a online auction or something, a grenade launcher, and wanted me to do a transfer form. And I said, no, I'm sorry, I don't do transfers of grenade launchers to private individuals. I only sell grenade launchers to the military and governmental agencies. But they were like, well, I had talked to another FFL dealer and they said that I needed to contact a higher licensed dealer. And so I contacted you and I'm like, yeah, right, okay.
That would be a type 9 FFL, and even a type 9 FFL isn't gonna transfer a grenade launcher to a transferee buyer that's a non-licensed to have that device. That's a destructive device.
Yeah, I'm an 11, so I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do sell those, and I sell them to the government.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was kind of something that was odd and it stuck out. I want you to let you all know about it just in case that was a call that was going around to the what is it, 7-Up, maybe FFLs.
Yeah. Interesting.
Anything goes.
Yeah.
Hey. But anyway,
Yeah.
you all have a happy holidays. I'll see you all at SHOT.
Yep.
We'll
Thanks,
see you
Skip.
soon.
Thanks for joining us. Look forward to it.
All righty, man.
Alex, you on? Yeah, I see Alex. You're
Yes,
still on.
sir, I am here.
Hey, yeah, so is it okay if I tell you a story?
Yeah, go ahead, man. It's just been utter chaos, and I've seen half of the videos of people here today. When you're going over this zero tolerance stuff, the facial expressions on some people are just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sitting here with my head in my hand as well, like, oh, come on.
Yep.
So it's, yeah, if you want to talk about that, JB, you can, but I'll give you a quick update. I talked to a couple other SOTs in my area after I got off with you.
Yeah, let me go ahead and give a quick summary. So Alex calls yesterday, and welcome, Alex. You're a new FFL, I don't know, NFA deal, everything. You manufacture
Almost a year now.
Yep, very good. Great state of Texas. We love you guys. Anyway, Alex is he receives his first suppressor after waiting. How many was it? 9 months for a person?
No, this was a Form 3.
Hey, this wasn't your first. Yeah, this wasn't your
No,
first.
that's my first dealer suppressor. I have a personal one, but that's Ford before I was licensed.
So he orders and he receives his Gemtech 22 caliber, very beautiful new demo. I guess you're ordering it for demo purposes, silencer, and it comes in as a Gemtech, stamped Gemtech, and the invoice says Smith & Wesson. Calls yesterday. Yeah, calls yesterday. Form 3. I'm sorry, Form 3, stamped Smith & Wesson. Calls yesterday. We do answer the call 24/7, including weekends, either JC or I switch days. We will answer your call. And he says, what do I do? Is this right? And the obvious answer is wrong. The Form 3 should match the markings on the steel, the firearm. And it should say Gemtech, not Smith & Wesson. So he says, what do I do? Don't send it back. Let's get in touch with Lipsy's, who's the distributor, and talk to the compliance person. Usually a compliance officer at a company that size, and let them know about this and get what do we do with the Form 3? Do they want to notify NFA, or what do we do? What was the answer they gave you?
Well, they said that hold on, let me pull up the email here on my phone exactly. I know I forwarded over to JC. I think he got that by now.
Yeah, I've got it.
Okay, but it said Gemtech is a DBA on the Smith & Wesson FFL. The e-form system only shows the main name on the FFL, so it only displays Smith & Wesson on the Form 3. He needs to log them into his A&D book as Gemtech because that is how it is stamped on the steel. He can put Gemtech or Smith & Wesson on his Form 4 when he fills it out, but I would put Gemtech to avoid any confusion with the end customer. All that information populates automatically off the serial number in e-forms. Those are not free form fields that we are allowed to fill in.
So JC, you want to, what's your PS?
So a little bit unusual. The problem is you have a Form 3, which is your registration paperwork.
Yeah.
And it doesn't identify the actual device that you have in your possession. So my concern is, and I'm not really sure why the Form 3 doesn't permit both the DBA and the license name, but I'm going to the NFA division to make sure that everything's good with that. We've seen many situations with Form 3s and Form 4s where information is inaccurate, incorrect, and it's fairly easy to get corrected. But the fact of the matter is my chief concern here is that, you get pulled over or somebody asks you questions about that device, and, your Form 3 paperwork is there, and, but it doesn't identify the right firearm that's registered on the piece of paper. So we're going to get a good answer on this and make sure everything's good to go.
I mean, everything else on the Form 3 is accurate. The model, the serial, the caliber, type, and length is accurate. But after speaking to a couple other SOTs in my area here, just to see what they have to say about it, they also have Smith & Wesson on their Form 3 for the manufacturer, but instead of Gemtech in their AD book, they have Smith & Wesson in their AD book, even though the suppressor is stamped Gemtech.
Yeah, I just have a concern, especially in the current climate of things, that there may be issues with this. So it's best to go right to the top. So I've shot an email off to the NFA division leadership to get a really good answer on this to make sure we're good to go.
Yeah, that's my concern, is the form, the proper information on it is discerning, to say the least.
Yeah.
JC, you mentioned, let me remind everyone on the call, if you're new to us, we're the guys who can ask questions of the ATF without disclosing the FFL we're working with. We have the inroads and the contacts, and if you have a question and we may not have the answer, we go directly to Clarksburg or Washington and just go ahead and get the right answer in writing on behalf of an FFL, quote, an FFL consultant's client. And then we pass that back to you. So, again, we're worried about this self-reporting and all these questions and how many times should I call my ILI and what does that do? Don't be afraid to just drop us, call us, text us, email us, and we'll help you with the question. We probably already have the answer. We probably already have it in writing in some email over the last couple of years from the ATF, so we could just pass that along usually as well. But this one's a little stumper. I've never had this happen with NFA.
I've never seen a Form 3 that has the FFL name, but not the DBA. And the concern is what's stamped on the suppressor should be on the Form 3, in my opinion. So
yeah, that's my concern as well.
This is Wayne on the 4473.
Hey, Wayne.
One of them I ran into, his middle name was the same as my first name, and I kept trying to put it in, and it kept kicking it over to me.
Oh, as an error?
That.
As an error? So you're utilizing an electronic 4473 system?
Yeah, electronic.
Yeah, that's, you need to talk to whoever your the software owner is and talk to them. That's an error correction process. I don't know why that's happening. It's something in the back end that they're utilizing the error correction for. They just need to make adjustments to either allow it or at least have a pop-up that says, is your first name the same as your middle name? Which is probably unusual enough, and they didn't think about it when they developed the software.
Yeah, because his middle name was my first name, and it kept kicking it back to me.
That's really odd. I would check with the software developer and see why that's happening.
And the other one is, there's got 3 blanks there. Are you a US citizen? What
Yep.
really is supposed to be in there? I've tried all different ways.
What do you mean?
For the purchasers, a US citizen.
Yeah, if they're a US citizen, they just mark US citizen.
Well, I've tried that. It didn't take it one time. Another time I put USA and it took it. What
Huh.
should the 3 of them say? I
John,
can't-
you're muted. Bacher, you're muted.
Wayne, are you talking about your 4473 software or the next next software?
It'd be the NICS. It'd be the electronic one that I'm trying to fill out at times.
The ENIX system for background checks?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it should, it should be yes for next to. It's either yes, no, yes, sorry, I can't access that from here, but it's usually yes or no, right?
I've tried sometimes it takes USA, sometimes it's one block will take US
Okay.
only.
If it's the FBI, Wayne, if it's the FBI software you're using, the FBI ENIX, just give me a quick email to jb@fflconsultants.com. I'll give you the liaison down there and a couple of the guys who can help you just make it through a phone call, maybe walk you through what you're trying to do or help you figure that out real fast. They're great. They're very good support folks over at NICS.
Okay, because I have a problem, I finally just call it in.
Well, we'll give you the right people to call, not.
Yeah, we'll get a hold of the head of NICS and get this sorted out for you. This is really weird, and
Yeah.
we're pretty,
Could be a,
I
could
don't
be
want to say
a-
friends with them, but we're very close to them.
Yeah, they're good people. All right.
And what is the most current book for FFLs to look in? I've tried to get
Yeah.
it says 72 on it or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's 2016. You mean the regulations guide?
Yeah,
Yeah.
The last one, hard copy, is 2016. It'd be hard to find that. I got the 2014 book here.
Yeah.
But you could go online. Again, Wayne, I'll send, just send me a quick email. I'll send you the link to the PDF that you can download. That's available. You just download the PDF. Don't even have to buy the book or try to find the book if you can.
they used to send it out, when the new one come out, but
They stopped in 2018. They stopped printing it. It's not available. You can't get them, and you have to supposedly download the PDF if you want to print it yourself. They stopped printing it through the Washington Printing Bureau, the Government Printing Bureau, and you can either print it or just have it available on your desktop for reference anytime you got to look at it. It's pretty good. It's indexed pretty nicely. But you got to know which chapter to look in and what topic you're looking for.
okay. I pay them to be in business and then they won't support me. Okay,
Well, yeah, they give you a PDF link. I don't know anybody. I think 3 people I
what do
know.
my taxes go for?
Right.
Toilets, toilet seats.
Yes. Anybody else out there before we run? JC, you got a 12:30.
Yes, sir. Oh, and I'm late to it, huh?
Yeah, just a couple of minutes. All right, folks, we're gonna bail here. Listen, we'd love for you to give us a little short review on Google if you can find a time before tomorrow. Get our free bonuses. We love you. Happy holidays. We'll definitely be back in early January, right after the new year, and we'll see some of you at SHOT Show this year. Thanks for everything, guys.
You guys have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and thanks for this, and it's been informational, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely,
Wayne.
Wayne. You reach out anytime you need something, buddy. We'll take care of you.
Okay,
Tom, give me a call tomorrow or Wednesday, Tom. I'll see if there's any updates for you.
Will do. I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you
All right.
later.
Take care.
Okay, bye.